Honor and a privilege to be here this morning. Amen. Hallelujah. I don't know how I agreed to come Sunday morning, how your pastor got me. I do Fridays and Saturdays. I drive home. Sunday mornings is very difficult to get me out of the church on Sunday morning. I don't know how many times this. I think it's less than 5. Yeah, it's almost less than 5. I think this is the 5th one. This Sunday that I'm not at home. I'm very particular about my Sundays. I don't know that when we were talking, he asked about Sunday. I said, well, you have to tell me if you want me on Sunday, but after speaking with him, I said, what did I say, man, to him? How did we get there? We were not supposed to negotiate about Sunday. But the Lord is good. And all the time. Listen, I can't go home for yesterday, but I have to start where I stopped because I'm loaded. And when you feel the information is too much, you can stop me. I'm loaded. And when I say I'm loaded, I mean it. I'm loaded. Amen. The theme is about transformation of the mind, the soul, and the spirit. And yesterday, we focused on the carnal mind cannot receive from the Lord. That even when you have received, you don't have it. You have it, but you don't have it. Yes. Positive or negatively, you have it, but you don't have it. It's when you have something that has you, but you don't have it, but it has you. It's like when your mind is not transformed towards finances. Money can have you, can possess you, but that doesn't mean that you can have that money. We will see how you behave when you are 20 million rich. You see, you are so humble when you don't have anything until you have 20 million rand. And then you say to Bishop here and say, well, I'm going to show my father my new Bentley. Every Sunday you're going to show my uncle that side. Every Sunday you're no longer at church. That you used to be at church every Sunday. Now we know what you have and what has you. You are being heft. You don't have what you say you have. So you've got to be in a place where you are not Esau. Esau had the blessing, but he didn't have it. He had it until a moment came in and someone said, sell it. And he sold what was not supposed to be sold. So if you see, based on the current need, the pressing need, he sold the future. Jacob sold the current need of someone to gain the future. One bought the future, the other one sold the future. So if your mind is not, you see, where we are in Jordan, where you guys are, someone sold 2016, 5 years ago. But before we had the coalition government, somebody sold 2016. Right now, we are having elections sometime in the future. Somebody's gonna sell and someone will buy. If your mind is not transformed, you will sell what you are not supposed to sell. But intelligent people that have a transformed mind from a high dimension will, high dimension means you are at a high position so that you can see further. Then what you see there, it's influencing your behavior now. Now. Amen. When the current need presses you, you don't behave because of the current need. You behave based on the future you saw. And this is interesting with farmers. A farmer will always buy the future through a seed. Amen. Amen. A seed will always possess the future. It doesn't matter what. Oh my goodness. Don't touch. You are a harvest 2016. You are a harvest 2016. But before I harvested in 2016, in 2015 I was here. I sowed my seed here. The seed goes to the future. It possesses the harvest. I want 1 million crop this time next year. I sow now this time for next year. A seed will always possess the future. So when you behave here, you behave in the seed form, not production form, not harvest form. So when you give someone a tender, they eat and eat and eat and they forget that the seed possesses the future. Hey. So this church has got a great assignment to transform the mindset of people. You are called as a church to do a transformation. I will advise the government of this area to come and sit under the feet of your pastor and teach them high dimension thinking. Thank you, sir. So yesterday we were talking about without having that. But Jesus spoke to Peter and Peter spoke to Jesus. And we see the exchange that happened between heaven and Peter and Jesus. And the devil who was behind the scenes that nobody saw. Except Jesus. Because the devil can make you do things when you are not conscious. You see, so you can be so spiritually inclined with heaven that when the devil comes in, you are a good servant of his. So there is no guarantee that you are connected with heaven. At that moment, Jesus said, Peter, heaven has said this. My Father in heaven has said this. So there was a direct connection between Peter and heaven. But Peter's mind was not transformed with the revelation that he had. He didn't take time to imbibe, to incubate the revelation of God. So this message is very important. And I stopped at the book of Luke chapter 19 where I want to start. And please bear with me if I'm too fast or I've got too much. You have to bear with me. Luke, if I can get someone to read for me from verse number 12 until 17. Let's read right through that. Luke chapter 19. Mention the version, because I'm going to use different versions.
I'm reading from the book of Luke chapter 19, and the translation is NIV.
Thank you.
19 verse?
Verse 12.
12. He said, a man of noble birth went to a distant country to have himself appointed king and then to return. So he called 10 of his servants and gave them 10 minas. Put this money to work, he said, until I come back.
Okay. Put this money to work until I come back.
Yes.
Give me another version, same verse, that one in particular.
Verse 13, I'm reading from the King James Version.
Okay.
And he called his 10 servants and delivered them 10 pounds and said unto them, occupy till I come.
Can you say that? Occupy till I come. Occupy till I come. The other version says, do business until I come. This is it's not spiritual. This has got to do with a simple principle of faithfulness, but that's not where I am today. Can you say occupy till I come? Occupy till I come. Can I ask the 3 people that I had yesterday quickly? The first one was given 1 talent. Come. And the other one was given 2 talents. The other one was given, come this side, 3 talents. 3. 1, 2. One was given 1, another was given 2, another one was given 5. Okay. So the one who had 5 gained more 5, and she was told, good and faithful servant. We know the story, let me not read it again. Thou faithful servant, because you were faithful with the small, we will give you 10 cities. That's what it says. A talent led to 10 cities. A gift land someone into 10 cities. Okay. If a political organization will become faithful in one city, God can, even if they can be, God can trust them with 10 cities. Oh my goodness, I don't like what I see in this country. God have mercy. Oh my goodness, I preached this message to a particular organization. They didn't hear me. I told them. I said, take good care of one. God will trust you with 10. But we are busy losing instead of gaining. And then one got 2 and was given more 2. I had 2, I gained 2, and this person was told, here are cities for you. Because you are faithful with one. I said, if you don't transform your mind, you will lose what you have. You will lose what you have. Verse 15, look at your neighbor and say, he's not talking about you, he's talking about me. Read verse number 15 for me, please.
NIV, verse 15. He was made king, however, and he returned home.
Okay, then read for me verse number 20.
Then another servant came and said, Sir, here is your mina. I have kept it laid away in a piece of cloth. I was afraid of you because you are a hard man. You take out what you did not put in and reap what you did not sow.
Yes.
His master replied, I will judge you by your own words. You wicked servant, you knew, did you, that I am a hard man, taking out what I did not put in and reaping what I did not sow? Why then didn't you put my money on deposit, so that when I come back, I could have collected it with interest?
This is business. Interest. So the guy had a mindset of nothing. Continue.
Then he said to those standing by, take his mina away from him.
Take what I gave, even though he didn't have. So God can give you a gift of healing, and you can lose it. He can give you a gift, you can lose it. Why the rich are becoming richer? Hey. Oh Lord, why rich people are becoming more richer? It's because the ones we don't have anything, God will always give it to the rich people because they know what to do with it. Why the poor in the country are becoming poorer? It's because the poorer do not even recognize what they have. You see, this is bad, what I'm about to say. Look at your name and say it's bad. But you have to wait until I finish. You need to learn how to make poverty a blessing. If you're given poverty, it can teach you lessons. I said, what I'm about to say is bad, but I was poor. And I accepted that I was poor. Then I decided that, listen, if I am at the rock, I can no longer go down from where I am. I'm already down already. There's only one way. So poverty taught me certain things. That when I'm rich, then I know what it means to be poor. Oh Lord, have mercy. The only thing that starts at the top is a grave. Yeah. And where does it go? Oh my goodness. So it's very important that when your mind is transformed, you will understand that I have something. Amen. And how to take what I have to get what I don't have. So it was given to the one who has already much. Because this one had a transformed mind. And it's very interesting, it was not given to the one who had two. It was given to the one who had too much because he knows how to handle too much. So it's not, sometimes you want God to bless you with a million. It is because God knows you cannot handle a million. Develop a million mindset, then God knows that you can handle too much. Look at your neighbor and say, too much. Too much. So this is my point. This is why I stopped yesterday. This is where I want to start. This one was given a gift. It says, occupy until I come. The other version says, do business until I come. So this one, it means she failed to occupy her space. This is my title. Occupy your space. Do what? Occupy your space. I'm changing the values right now. Okay? Look at your neighbor and say, occupy your space. Occupy your space. This is very important. You are one. What are you? One. Say, I'm 1 rand.
I'm 1 rand.
Okay? Say 1 rand.
1 rand.
Okay. This is very, very important. Never undermine yourself just because you look insignificant.
Amen.
You can still occupy your space. So this person undermined the gift because it was 1. This one did not undermine it because it was just 2. This one did not undermine, even though he could handle 10. But when he had 5, he didn't complain about the 5, even though he could handle 10. Some of you have something small, but you know you can handle big. It means use what you have to get to where you want to go. Don't undermine and despise what you have. Don't look down with what God has given you already. Don't look down at this church. Don't look down at yourself. Don't look down at the community where you are in. There is something good, even though you can be small and insignificant. It doesn't mean you are not. For example, there is what we call the power of the dot. Can we say dot? You see, a dot is something that is insignificant. But a dot is powerful. It can still occupy space. How? What is your value, Ghana? 1 rand. Okay? So your value right now, you are 10 rand. Okay? 10 rand. Between the two of them, which one is bigger? 10. Are you sure? Sure. Between 1 rand and 10 rand, simple mathematics, which one is bigger? It's 10. Okay? You are 1 rand. You are no longer 1 rand. You are just a dot. We put a 0. How much is it? How much? She's just a dot. How much is a 0? She's been 1 rand already. We put another 0. How much is she? Hello? There is a dot. How much is she? How much was the value initially? 10 rand. Okay, so when you put a 10 rand behind a rand, how much do you have? You have 110. What changed the value is the dot. If I add another 0 behind the dot, how much are we having? 1,000. What changes the value is a dot. Shift your dot and change your value. Shift your dot. You are just a dot. The devil is a liar. You are not insignificant, even though you are just a dot. Just shift your dot a little bit. When your pastor is studying, he's shifting the dot. Shift your thought. Occupy your space. It can be a small space, but it will change the amount of anything. Listen to me. How much is the value of 1 cent these days? What do you get with 1 cent? Nothing. But that's not true. You put 1 cent and you add it to 999,000 rand. What do you get? 1 million. 1 cent will change the value of something into a million, even though it is 1 cent. You've got to learn how to occupy your space. 1 cent next to 999,000 rand, 99 cent will change that value into a million. Change your mindset, transform yourself. Even though you can look insignificant and small, you are not small before God. God will place you before higher people, and you will think you are too small. They don't understand you are a thought that's going to change the value of something that is bigger than yourself. Never undermine where you come from. Never undermine your place in the society. Occupy your space. When you put a cent around that value, it occupies its space. And Jesus said, occupy until I come. Occupy until I come. We are here to say we're going to occupy our space. It doesn't matter what the devil says. We are here to occupy our space. I need someone on the keyboard. Look at your neighbor and say, occupy your space. Look at another one and say, occupy your space. Look at somebody else says, I'm here to occupy my space. Don't undermine me because I don't have anything right now. Don't undermine me because I don't have achievements right now. Don't undermine me because I don't have anything behind me right now. But I'm a thought and I will occupy my space. Stay there. So this guy refused to occupy his space and put his space, read another version, in a napkin. Yeah. So it's very important where you place yourself as a dot. Have you seen people say, I'm not in a good space right now? A space is a very important thing. Yeah. What is a space? Time is a space. Can you say time is a space? Time is a space. Many years ago, there was a man, Kenya, Ghana. He was 26 years of age. He had a boy who he took to school. And the boy one day came with books and says, Daddy, please help me. And the father never went to school. He couldn't read or write. He was in the armed struggle of the country. He was a soldier. The only thing he knew was a gun. Then he decided that, listen, wait again. I need to go to school. Also, I'm going with my son to the class. He applied for the elementary school. And the school refused him, of course, because he was too old. There were no desks for adults. And he went to the Department of Education, and they still refused him. He went to the newspapers. They refused him. Nobody wanted to take his story. But anyway, after a lot of pressure, they allowed him to start. And in that country, it's also 12 years to start. He was 26 years. When he finished his matric, how old was he? How old was he? 26? 12 years. 38. After he finished, he decided to go and do his degree. 3 years' time, he finished his degree. How old was he? He decided to do his honors degree for 1 year. How old was he when he finished? He decided to study for his PhD. For 3 years, he finished. How old was he? The person who refused him was a teacher, who refused to teach him. He was also 26 years of age. At the age of 45, both of them were 45. That other one was still having a teacher's diploma. This one was having a PhD. Time is a space. What do you do with time? What's a space? Number 2, your destiny is a space. And God won't always call you into always an unoccupied space. He called David into an occupied space. So some of you, where God is calling you to, someone is already occupying their space. So you become intimidated by the one who is occupying the space. And you think that the space is occupied, there is no space for you. Look at your neighbor and say, there is always a space for you. There is a space for your kind. There is a space for your type. Never say I'm not a million type. No, there is always a partner for you. Your assignment, number 3, is your space. Your assignment, your mandate is your space. Number 4, your purpose is your space. Number 5, your dream is your space. Number 6, your vision is your space. Number 7, your mission field is your space. Your marriage is your space. Let me stay there a little bit. If you don't occupy your space in your marriage, you will be replaced. If you don't kiss your wife, someone will. There is always someone who wants to kiss your wife. There will always be someone who desires your wife. Yeah. And if you don't desire in the house, someone will desire her outside. If you refuse to do what you must do to your wife, someone will always want to do what you don't want to do. Occupy your space. I forgot. Please get my book. Why is my marriage breaking? When it comes to marriages, I can stay there. You know, when your marriage partner is your only client. Your partner is your client. When you go to Spain, they don't do this meat well. There is another restaurant. Even if they can do it well, but the waiter is offering the best service, you always go to a place where you can get the steak the way you want it, and how the waitress is also offering the service. We don't only go for the food, but you also go for the service. So if you don't service your partner, there is someone who will always want to do the service on your behalf. Partner is not your best, it's your only, not the best, only. You did not get that one. Your partner is not your best client, it's your only client. Marriage is a business. It's a business. When you receive negative charges from the bank, it's because you've not been depositing. So when there are a lot of irritations, you know, there are times when we put a plug in an electrical socket. So there is this negative charges. It's because you've not been doing something right. Your marriage partner is your space. Your husband said, honey, can you please come? No. Wait, listen. The king said, Vashti come. Vashti did not want to come. Honey, can you please come? I'm busy right now with my son. And if you are busy with your son, your partner also puts the son and start to communicate with someone other than you and exchange photos and information. You are too busy for your partner. Your partner will be too busy with somebody else. Relationship is no longer physical anymore. It's an issue of space. The other one is on the other side of town. This one is here, but they are connected deeper than the one. They're sitting together. But the space is huge. Your wife is busy talking with another man, exchanging photos. And the intimacy is deeper than the one that are physically intimate. phones have become so private, more than the private part. Other people, they don't mind if you touch the private part, but if you try to touch the that's my phone. What do you want to do with my phone? It's a space. Look at your neighbor. It's a space. It's a wife. She does not even know how much the husband earns. Or the wife, the husband does not know how much he earns. The cat is a private space. Yeah, it is space. When it comes to wallets and cell phones and bank cards, it's a space. But who has occupied that space? Daddy, can you please come and kiss me? Why do you always want kissing? Hey! There was someone who wanted to kiss her, and she really wanted that kiss. But she knows that your husband, you come home, I'm too busy right now. You always want the kisses. Hey! Kiss! And the way she wants you to kiss. Have you seen young people in the car? They are talking to each other, not mouth by mouth, but through cell phones. In the car, talking and laughing with each other. Changing emoticons and emojis on the cell phones, and they're sitting next to each other. It's a space. You as a parent, you come in and you give your child a cell phone. You don't put restrictions. It's a space. It's a space. Let me come back. Let me go to the message. Until further notice. I needed to take a detour into marriage. Your space. Look at your neighbor, say your space. Is very important. Your role in the local church is a space.
Hallelujah.
When you become an usher, when you sweep the church, it's a space. It can be one thing you must do well, because God will use that one thing that everybody undermines. But God can use it to give you 10 cities. In the local church, it's a space. When you give in the local church, it's a space. If you are withdrawing your finances, you will be replaced, and God will come and put someone in here who's going to give you more than you do, but this person will be more blessed because you've been praying and praying. You've been praying and the blessings are coming. And after you replaced yourself by not giving, then somebody just comes in and possesses the blessings you've been praying for. What makes people not to fill their spaces? Challenges in filling our spaces. Challenges in filling our spaces. Number one, why people don't want to fill their space, number one, is because you are a dot and someone else is something else. So you look at yourself and undermine yourself or devalue yourself because you don't look like someone else. So comparison, never compare yourself. Never compare your assignment with someone else's assignment. Never compare your church with someone else's church. Never compare your pastor with someone's pastor, because your pastor is unique and occupying a particular space. Never compare your praise and worship team or any other person with other people. Occupy your own space. Number two, inferiority complex. When you feel small and incompetent, it will make you afraid to mark your space. Or to have a mark in your space, or to have your influence in your space. My goodness. You know, sometimes when I address government officials, I normally tell them, listen, if you are a director, or you are an HOD, or you are a chief director, it is your space. Occupy it and put your mark on it. and become indispensable so that you are irreplaceable. When you are indispensable, you cannot be replaced because everybody needs you. Listen, you cannot do without air. It is irreplaceable. Air is indispensable. You need it. So make yourself indispensable so that everybody will need you and rely on you. When they want to chuck everybody, they will say, no, you can't. No, this one. When we need to downsize, no, this one, yeah, but this one, you cannot do it. Not with this one. Yeah, they are forced to downsize. But when it comes to you, this is not the one you must down. This one, not because you are indispensable. Some of us, God will give you a position, but you will play with it. And when they downsize you with the rest because you didn't put your mark in your space. You didn't shift your dot. The guy started elementary school with his son, age of 45. He was a PhD guy. He even bypassed the one who was lecturing him during his first year. I've seen that with my wife also. When she was finishing a PhD, the guy who taught her, the guy who gave me a tough time during her junior degree, when she was finishing her bachelor degree, then he had what they call an e-commerce then when it started to come in, e-commerce. And the guy who was teaching e-commerce, lecturing e-commerce, had only honors degree. And when my wife became a PhD graduate, the guy was struggling to register a theme for his master's. And they had to be colleagues in the same department. And my wife became promoted ahead of the one who was lecturing her, who was also white and made. So the guy has been occupying the space. When they decided to make my wife an acting HOD, the guy said, I've been here long enough, but he didn't have the qualification. He refused to shift his dot. So what you are doing, Babam Fundis, you are shifting your dot. You are changing your estimates. But we said you are changing not your estimate, but your estimates. So it means this year you worth this, but you don't sit on what your worth of this year. You change to another estimate next year. You read, you empower yourself, you capacitate yourself. You are transforming yourself from one glory to another. You are transforming yourself when you read, when you study. You are equipping yourself, you are capacitating yourself, because in 10 years to come, what you are doing it will be irrelevant. I'm not sure if you are aware, medical doctors have been replaced by machines. Yeah, there is a machine you can buy and put it in your house. You can test this and this and this and this. And the doctor who is waiting for you in his office for you to come and test 1, 2, 3, you are already having it in the house. So the doctor is forced to specialize. Occupy. Why people don't occupy their spaces? Identity issues. The lack of it, or you don't know who you are. Moses asked a question before God. Who am I that I should stand next to Pharaoh? Who am I? God said, you are a Red Sea breaker. You are busy with the sheep. God doesn't see a sheep carer. He sees someone who can open the Red Sea. You and I, we stand next to a sea. My goodness, with these people, we need a big boat. We need a Titanic. God said, you need a stick. Stick technology. But when Joshua came in, the technology was no longer relevant. He needed the priest to step in with the Ark of the Covenant. When Moses stepped in, there was no Ark of the Covenant. So you've got to transform from the previous experience, because God never repeats experiences. They still cross the same water. That water is just called the Red Sea, but water, come on, water is water. Water is water. It's water. Water. Yeah, water is water. But that water and this water were never opened the same way. The technology of heaven changed. So if you still have the same degree this year, in the next coming 5 years, your degree is going to be irrelevant. Okay, let me just ask a simple question. Mwana, you know what's a typewriter? You know what's a typewriter?
Yeah.
Look at her face. You know what? No, don't answer. You see at her face, I come in here with a typewriter and I put a paper and I say, Hannah, what were you saying? I want to write a letter. What will they think? I am outdated. I am irrelevant. So you are busy with a degree, which is a typewriter degree.
Wow.
Look at your neighbor and say, he's talking about me, not you. Where is the space for the typewriter? But the typewriter used to occupy its own space in its own time. Time is a space. So, don't think you will always be needed in the next coming 3-4 years. You will be irrelevant. What has happened in politics? People are saying you are an irrelevant party. You are still attached to the armed struggle and the bush politics. Are you aware during the Christmas 4 campaign, no Mandela name was mentioned? They didn't mention Mandela. Yeah. They didn't. What matters now is I need to study. I need school. I don't need to pay money. I want to study. I want education now. Don't tell me what Mandela did now. Yeah, I appreciate what Mandela did, but right now, I need to be at school. He's in the grave and they spend millions to put him in the grave. And the body is no longer there. And they still spend thousands to maintain the grave. But right now, I need education. So we need to redefine our politics. Not to 2016. I went to Switzerland a few years ago. And I got a shock of my life when I saw Maybach of 2030. Wow. It was not released. It was in there. We were told it's going to be released. In 1 year, in Switzerland, it was a world show, car show. When I was in that show, Babam Fus, we never finished. We entered the show at 8 o'clock. By the time I arrived at the 1/3 of the show, there were almost more than 500 cars I haven't seen. The car that I'm driving, according to that standard, it is a 2015 years ago model. Whereas in South Africa, it's a 2015 year model car. It's bad. So every time I say, the car is nice, I keep quiet. Yeah. They don't know what I know, so as long as you are ignorant, it's fine. I didn't even know Maybach until I entered that's the executive of the Mercedes Benz. 4 million euros then. 4 million euros then. Look at your neighbors in space. What makes people not to occupy their space? It is when you fear to define yourself in your own space. You are afraid because you always want to fit in with the rest, whereas you don't understand. You are unique in your own way that God has created you. You are unique. Fear to be excellent or exceptional. Fear to be opposed or resistant. To have a different view or idea. Fear not to agree with the rest. That's what makes people to be afraid to occupy their space. Goliath came in and said, I need a man. Everybody ran away. The space was still empty. I need a man. Everybody ran away. David came in and said, what's in the space? What shall it be done for a man who will defeat this? He said 3 things. You will marry the daughter of the king. Your family won't pay taxes. The king will give you treasures. 3 things. David said, I want to occupy this space. And Saul said, well, to occupy that space, wear my clothes. David said, the clothes were meant for this space, not for me. And when you look at Goliath, you needed rocks to defeat him. David said, I need a stone. Even though a stone is small, if he knows someone who knows how to occupy his space in his own unique way, it doesn't matter maybe how big the problem is, it shall fall if you know how to occupy your space. And the Bible says he went to look for smooth stones, not rough stones, smooth stones. Goliath was rough, and you will think it would take a rough solution, but he took a software, not a software of his time. So he upgraded his computer and put a new software. Saul wanted to give him a hardware. He says, this thing is too heavy. Don't undermine yourself because you are a soft-spoken person and someone is loud and it's like, this one who's loud, people are giving this person attention because he's loud. Just be yourself in your own space and accept yourself in your own space. Accept your own uniqueness in your own space. When you do that, you have already transformed your mind. When we feed our space, we must grow and capacitate ourselves so that we become the best there is and the best that will ever be, as long as the breath of the Lord is in us. Let me repeat that again. When we feed our space, we must grow and capacitate ourselves so that we become the best there is and the best that will ever be, as long as the breath of the Lord is inside of you. How to occupy our space. Let me close with that one. How to occupy your space. Number 1, know everything you need to know about your space. Know everything you need to know. When David came in, he said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? The moment he said uncircumcised, he understood the problem has no covenant with God. Therefore, he says, good has been defeated. The problem in front of me has no covenant with God. So it means if I'm going to challenge this guy, God is not on his side. Know everything you need to know about your space. So David said, look at Goliath. Said, this guy is uncircumcised. It means he basically will look, is God on his side or not before he attacks. That's why he had an opportunity to take his space before his time. But he said to this guy, Saul is here. He is the anointed of the Lord. This space I don't take. He moved away. He said he's still the anointed of the Lord. Basically it was saying, God is still with him. I cannot touch him. I can attack him. I can kill him. But this one is the uncircumcised Philistine. This one I can take down. It doesn't matter how big he is. Saul was vulnerable. He was asleep. He was weak, but I can't touch him. After he cut the rope, the Bible says his heart smote him. He felt bad. It's like ula bonela mrutu wa hai. Now I feeling comfortable. He lost the peace. He went and said, what did I do? David knew a space. He knew this space is a good space. This space is a bad space. You don't play here. How do we occupy our space? Not everything you need to know. Number 2, possess it. Possess your space. David asked, what shall it be done for the man who will defeat this? So he started to maximize the space. Our people don't maximize their space. They become corrupt. They don't maximize the space. They become corrupt. They don't maximize. They become corrupt. They don't maximize the space. They become corrupt. They grow. They maximize themselves, not the space. And then they buy the latest car to try to prove to people they're successful. And then they forgot to go to university to study to improve themselves. They buy an expensive car to try to prove that they are successful, but they don't go back to school to try to improve themselves. They prove that they are successful, but they don't improve themselves. So the space of their garage is filled with cars that are on debt. They try to impress people who will never be impressed with them and will become jealous of them. Why do you try to impress people who will hate you anyway further? With what you don't have, that you have borrowed. Let me just close with this. You know this story, some of you, some you don't. Okay? You didn't give me the time, but I'll take my time with this one because I'm closing. Right. We know this story, some of you know the story, of a professor who came into a class with a jar. And he had big rocks and small rocks. And said, whoever will fill this jar to the brim, to the full, will receive a reward. Now another student came, filled it with big rocks, and said, the space is full. And the professor said, why big rocks? He said, I don't have time for small things. I'm a man of big vision. I'm a man of big dreams. I'm here to study so that I can become big. But the professor said, wow, this is wonderful. And the professor said, well, if then that's the case, let me give you the gift, the prize. Another one stood up and said, oh, wait, Mr. Professor. And this one took and shook some rocks and started to realize that there are some small spaces in between the rocks and started to put some small rocks in between the spaces. Even if you can be small around the peak, you can still find your space. Never say my business is small. You can still find your space. Never say, well, what I'm doing, the business are saturated. Already ShopRite is providing it, Pick and Pay is providing it. You can still have a small business and still occupy your space. I remember one guy in America had a very small shop selling things that were not important. And the place where he he was sold out to a bigger company that was going to build a mall. And a letter was written to the guy to say, you need to move out or you need to sell, otherwise we're going to shut you out, we're going to have a mall. The guy refused and said, this land, small land, I bought it. I'm not going to sell it. It's not just the shop, but it's the land. This small land, it's my inheritance, I'm not going to sell it. Well, it went up and down until the mall was built anyway. And when they built the mall, they had to pass through the shop of this guy. And this guy, when they opened the big mall, he put a sticker in front of his shop and said, entrance. So everybody who went to the big mall went through their shops. And many people did not just go through. They started there. It was small. The Zimbabwean way in the midst of the big. In the midst of the big, he was small, and yet he made more money. So you can look at others that are bigger than you, and you look at yourself, and you will undermine yourself without understanding. It doesn't matter how small you are, you can still occupy your own space in the midst of the big. When we started our church, there were other bigger churches around us. And you could see when people would look down on us because we were small and insignificant, but we were there to occupy our own space. There are people who will never listen to me, but they will listen to someone out there who is a pastor of 7 people, who doesn't have a microphone. But they hear when that pastor is preaching. When I preach and sweat and bring revelation, they didn't hear a thing. They went to that pastor, and that pastor says, occupy your space. He said, yeah, this message, yeah, go. Now I come in, occupy your space. They didn't hear. They didn't hear. There are people who will never hear any other pastor, but they will hear your pastor. Because there is a space for you. And the professor said to this man, wow, you have occupied the space. And our student said, no, professor, the space is not full yet. Yeah. He went outside, came with a bowl full of sand, started to shake everything, put the sand started to find its place and space in the midst of the small and the big rocks. It doesn't matter your shape. You don't have to look and be solid as others who occupied and came first. You can still be a sand in the midst of everyone. You can still find your space. A big rock and a small rock are solid. You don't have to be solid like everybody else around you. You can still occupy your own space. Transform yourself to fit into the space God is placing you in. Transform yourself. If it means change your size, change it. Change your position, change it. Change your interpretation of the space where yourself in. You can still find your space. Professor said, wow, it's full. Another one said, no, Prof, don't give it. He came with a glass of water. And what happens when you put sand in water? The sand went down. The water is liquid. So the water says, even though I'm not as hard as the sand, as hard as the rocks, I am liquid, but I can still find space. Don't try to look like somebody else to occupy your space. Some of you women are under pressure. Your jeans, and you go to Vision Active and then you try to be thin. Your husband has been saying, Lord, I know my wife is douche. So the moment he meets you, you are so thin, he misses you. He's looking for us tools. He loves it in the fat. Another one loves it in the bone. But it's me eating. I want to sleep. Daddy, I'm thin today. I'm thin today. And did I lose? I used to tell two men, you prophesy, you tell the truth, but you don't tell it the way it is. Maybe you are beautiful, you are smart the way you are. You don't confirm her suspicions, you confirm what she believes. So agree with her in her belief. You prophet. You are prophesying to say, yes, I believe with what you are saying. But you are not yet there, but you don't say it, so that's a lie. If you can see the size has increased a little bit, but she believes she has decreased. So you agree when the two of you agree together. It shall be so by faith. By faith. Let me come back from that zone. And the prophet, wow! It's full! Here is the gift! And I one student said, no yet. It's not full. Went outside, came back, Luna, the BBT. Yeah. He came with a primer stove. And put it, the jar. What happened? He introduced the heat into the space. There is heat. And all of a sudden, what happens? The jar started to say, started to crack. And stood up and said, Prof, not only I introduced the heat, but I have changed the size of the space. And the prof said, yes. Now as we say, no prof, wait. And he started to put a plastic on top of the jar. And the steam was contained inside the plastic. And the person said, bring me a balloon. Took a balloon, blew the air, put the air back into the plastic, and put the plastic back into the jar and closed it. And said, now I've just introduced air into the space. And the air started to go to the cracks also. And you could see bubbles inside. And the professor said, wow, you have won. Another one said, no. It's not full yet. Just took the jar, put it in the fridge, and said, I've just introduced cold inside the space. Listen, we don't see cold, but you can feel cold. People might not recognize you, but they can still. Let me stop here. Never undermine yourself. You can still feel your space. Never undermine your church because it does not have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 others have. Because your church can still occupy its own space. When your mind is transformed, you have changed the shape of the space, the size of the space, the identity of the space. You have Yes, the feel of the space. It doesn't matter. We can go on and on. We won't finish. You can put a lot of stuff. You can just put something called a dye and change the color of what's in this.
Amen.